So this new film, Critterz, is a short AI-driven film that is backed by OpenAI and was made by the native foreign production company. As I understand it, OpenAI has essentially funded this or has backed it in order to prove to Hollywood that OpenAI and AI in general is ready to step into the entertainment industry and to say, listen, we can do this, we're ready, we've got the ability, just let us in and we can do it. Now, obviously, inherently, there is pushback from people like me and from people within the entertainment industry and within the film industry. This is worthwhile talking about because the content of the film itself, which I will discuss in a minute, is pretty lackluster and is just overall, I would say, pretty terrible. And even behind the scenes, it is worth talking about this because Native Foreign is not a small company. This is a company that worked on the Toys R Us brand AI film, and it is one that I think is quite famous, but I will say is terrible, and I'm not really sure how it's meant to entice a child into a Toys R Us store when they're looking at fake images of kids that look pretty messed up as a result of AI. That just seems like it would terrify kids. And then on top of that, Native Foreign is a company that is repped by a pretty large talent agency, UTA, United Talent Agency, who are deeply embedded into the film industry. They've got high-profile clients: Harrison Ford, Channing Tatum, Gwyneth Paltrow, Johnny Depp, Angelina Jolie, list goes on and on. UTA describes Native Foreign as being an Emmy-nominated Women's Business Enterprise National Council certified women-owned creative agency. I have to say, in the crudest way possible, I don't really care if this company is owned by women. You're stealing art, you're plagiarizing, and you're attempting through a very thin veil to portray yourself as being a progressive company because you're owned by women. And this is one of the longest running sort of side effects or direct effects, I would even say, of identity politics in the 2010s, is that corporate companies continue to ingratiate diversity speak and identity speak into their press releases in order to frame themselves as being a progressive company. This is the equivalent, in my opinion, of the British Raj in India going, we're not colonizing, we're civilizing. That's not what you're doing. You're stealing artifacts from a people, a already pretty prosperous civilization, and just keeping it for yourself. That is the equivalent, in my opinion, of what you're doing here, is going, well, we're training our computer on your stuff, but you're not going to get any of the money from this. And I hate this corporate speak. It is such a thin veil of propaganda, essentially, and makes people go, they hire women, they must be good. And it really annoys me, I have to say. Native Foreign gets to put things on Instagram and Twitter and have people lap them up. And therefore, as a result of that, what they are actually doing that is deeply harmful to creatives just sort of goes under the rug. So behind the scenes, the actual production of this film, one that is steeped in plagiarism, even though for some reason we don't recognize this as plagiarism, and is one that is deeply problematic, I would say, and is using identity politics to essentially frame itself as being a progressive mode of technology, when actually what it is more reductive and regressive. But it is here to stay, so there is actually some worthwhile in analyzing and looking at the film itself and saying, is it of any worth whatsoever? And I have to say that I think this film, Critterz, when you actually watch it, is pretty terrible. It looks pretty bad. The characters and the environment of this film looks bland and uninspired. It doesn't look like anything I would want to sit my kid in front of and say, yeah, watch this for an hour and a half. How are they going to be entertained by this? When you look at things like Fortnite and you see the bright, sort of snappy visuals that are capturing kids' attention right now, whether we agree with Fortnite being a good thing for 8-year-olds to be involved in, you look at this and it's just sort of dour and dark and dim. And I wonder how this was ever considered like, oh yeah, this proves like kids would enjoy this. And actually, in the content of the film as well, it is steeped in jokes about stealing that it just doesn't really understand, is kind of ironic, and it doesn't really fit considering that the film itself is stolen. The character of David Attenborough's neighbor, Dennis, I don't think David Attenborough would approve of if he is worried about the encroachment on humans onto the space of animals, wild animals specifically. I would also then consider it a logical through line to say that he is probably also concerned about AI and computers and technology encroaching on humans. And then on another level, the character of the narrator gets progressively more annoyed and actually in some way sounds like he's using the word critters as like a hard R sort of slur. You know, you like the N word or like clanker. He sounds like he's using that of like, what the fuck is this stupid fucking critter doing drinking from my fountain? This is only for mammals only. What the fuck is he doing here, stupid fucking critter? And I was like, this is so weird, like that this got through because it just sounds overtly a reference to the N-word. But overall, this film is steeped in plagiarism and theft, and I'm deeply disturbed by the fact that this just seems to have gone under the rug and is probably just going to be used internally within the film industry to go, look what AI can do, how impressive that they were able to make this in just weeks. And yet it just doesn't appeal to anyone. And this isn't an early build. AI has come along now for a few years. So if we're going to be using this in films, you'd want it to be better than this. And I don't want it to be better at all. I don't want it to be used at all. Pretty concerning that this seems to just be flying under the radar, and how this was made flying under the radar, and not much press being given to this from what I've seen. And then the fact that the companies that are working with native foreign are companies like SAG-AFTRA and UTA, Amazon, Showtime, Netflix. I think this company is here to stay, and this is a company driven by AI and a company that wants to work within Hollywood and deploy its AI.